So in this video, I'll show you a very simple and easy method that will only take you a few seconds to predict whether a drop will be profitable or not. And you will be able to perform this step 2 to 3 days before the drop actually happens. It's very easy, anybody can do it. Let's get to it. Before I get to this pretty scientific and very easy to understand method, I want to set some context. This doesn't apply to decon collectibles simply because decon only happens a few times a year, and for these decon collectibles, David and the artist always aim for rarity. So that is an extra element that is very different than the drops that we usually get on a weekly basis. Decon drops are pretty rare and therefore they gotta skew the numbers a little bit. I don't want to talk about them. I think this method also works for comics as well. The principle is the same, you can apply it, but for this example alone, I'm just focusing on the general collectible drops, the stuff that we see on a weekly basis from Marvel, Disney, DC, Universal, you name it. So this is what you need to pay attention to. Most of the time, VeVe will drop these collectibles on a Thursday. On the East Coast, it usually happens at 11 a.m. every Thursday. If you notice the pattern, they will usually tweet about it first 2 to 3 days before that. So if the drop happens on a Thursday, VeVe would tweet about it for the first time ever on a Tuesday. And then they will release the Medium article in a second tweet on Wednesday. I need you to focus on the first tweet alone, okay? Because focusing on the first tweet, which is 48 hours, sometimes 72 hours before the drop, will give you enough time to analyze the data, to really understand and do your research before you make that decision, okay? I believe that the number of retweets on the first ever tweet about collectible will have a positive correlation or a directly proportional relationship to the profitability of that collectible on the market. Let me prove that to you. So over here, we have the second version of the DeLorean. As you can see, 306 tweets and the drop price were $80, current price $68. Another thing to keep in mind, whatever current price I'm talking about for the DeLorean and 8 other collectibles, as my examples for this video, the current price, these are the prices for the lowest variant, okay? If a collectible has 5 variants, common, uncommon, rare, ultra rare, secret rare, the current price will be the floor price of the common. In some other cases like my Morales, which I'll be talking about shortly, I think the lowest variant is a rare. That's gonna be the one that I'm talking about for that example. So we have here the second version or edition of the DeLorean time machine, 306 retweets, drop price $80, current price $68. You are losing money, okay? This is not a good collectible to go for if your goal was profitability. Next example is Jim Henson's Labyrinth 160, okay? If this collectible over here 306, which is double this particular one, if the other one were losing money, this one you can expect a loss as well. So drop price $30, current price 10, okay? You're losing money, and you will be able to collect this data point 2 days before the drops, because that's when VeVe usually tweet about it first. Usually they will give you 48 hours before the drop happens. Next up, we have the Mariachi stamp 111. By just taking a look at this number over here, you will be able to tell this is not a good drop to go for if your goal was to aim for profitability. You might be able to get very lucky and get a secret rare, but I don't take that chances. You know, I think if the chances are too slim, I'm gonna pass, because right now for me, holding gems in a bear market is a good thing to do. Okay, drop price $6, current price $4. As you can see, the number of retweets can predict whether you're gonna make a profit or not. Next up is my Morales. Okay, as you can see, 700 retweets. This is 7x or 6x the ones before that. All right, it retail for $50, and right now the current price of the lowest variant, I believe, which is a rare, is $215. So this is a 4x from retail. A crazy amount of retweets. Okay, if this collectible dropped on the 13th, okay, Thursday, the tweet came out 2 days before that. As you can see, I'm telling you, 48 hours before the drop, you can already tell whether it's gonna be a profitable drop or not, and whether you should go for it or not. Example over here, October 11th, VeVe tweeted about it first. Just wait until the evening of the 11th, or maybe the morning of the 12th, or even the morning of the 13th, and look at this data point. If there's a lot of retweets, then there is a very high chance that you're gonna make money if you were to go for this drop. Next up, we have the original classic Ultraman 168. If you see this tweet on the 29th and you see 128 retweets, then you know it's probably not a good idea to go for this drop. Drop price 40, current price 15. You're losing a lot of money. Star Wars, this is the battleships. 439 retweets, so this is a decent amount of retweet. Still about 60% of Miles Morales. So drop price $80, current price 51, losing money. Next up, we have the Mickey Mouse, the Sorcerer Apprentice. So this is a pretty special tweet because usually we can expect 2 tweets for each collectible. One 48 hours before the drop, one is 24 hours before the drop. For this particular collectible, there's only 1 tweet, which is the one that has the Medium article. So this is the only example we get. Drop price $60, current price 31. Only 181 retweets. If you saw this on the 13th or the 14th of September, you know it's not worth going for. Next up, we have the Disney Aladdin lamp, 545, okay, which is higher than the battleships, the Star Wars battleship, and a little bit lower than Miles Morales at 700. Okay, so this collectible has 445 retweets. Again, this is the first ever tweet for this particular collectible. 445. Drop price $40, current price 49. So as you can see, still a positive correlation or a directly proportional relationship between the number of retweets and profitability. Okay, if you were to go for this drop, you're making money. And this is also a very special drop because when it first came out and I was lucky enough to land this drop, I remember the floor price were close to 200, but then now it's 49 because after getting this drop, a lot of people redeem it to get the letter D from Disney and a chance to get the Mickey Sorcerer Apprentice collectible, because people use those benefits. They don't need this lamp anymore. That's why the price is low, but it's the same idea. High number of retweets, profit. Last but not least, we have Doc Ock, only 207 retweets. Okay, this is not a great drop to go for, because if you want to collect, you can do it. But for me, we're in a bear market. I cannot put money into VeVe anymore. I need to figure out a way to stay in the game, and I can only stay in the game if I am making money with these drops. I was not a flipper before. I have to learn how to flip and make money, because that is the only way for me to stay in the game. That's why I'm focusing a lot on profitability. Okay, if I were to go for a drop, I don't flip all the time, but the drops I go for have to have that potential to make me money. This is not the drop that I would go for. Okay, drop price 50, current price 10. Okay, terrible drop. If you see this on August 29th, you know it. All right, so we had 9 examples. That was a lot of numbers, so I aggregated everything here so that you can see it. What I have here is the name of the NFT, DeLorean, the stamps, Miles Morales, Classic Ultraman. If you were to go for the DeLorean, you would pay $80, and then you would lose 15%. Like, you'll be down 15%, because like you can kind of predict it by looking at the retweets here. If you were to go for the Miles Morales and you were lucky enough to get it, then you're up 330%, and you can kind of predict that by looking at the number of retweets. Same thing over here to the Disney Aladdin lamp. Okay, retail for 40, now you can sell it for almost 50, so you're up 23%. High number of retweets, but that is the raw data. I want you to take a look at this chart over here. So on the y-axis, which is the vertical axis, we have the number of retweets. Okay, there are some collectibles that have a very high number of retweets. This is the Disney Aladdin lamp, and this is the Miles Morales. Okay, it's off the chart pretty much. And on the x-axis, this is the y-axis, this is the horizontal or the x-axis, we have the percentage change on drop. Okay, so it's basically, if it's below 0, these are the drops that will that are not profitable. These are the drops that will cost you money. Okay, you're not going to make money from these drops because it's 0%. Anything on the right side of this line will make you money. Okay, look at this. You can see the relationship very clearly. Okay, so obvious. The only two drops that will make you money are the ones that have a high number of retweets. If I were to draw a line right here, somewhere like 500 retweets, let's just use that as a benchmark for this video. Anything that has over 500 retweets will make us money. Okay, this is just from reading the data. So as you can see, it's very clear. You can see kind of a trend line right here. So this is a positive correlation. This is a directly proportional relationship. For the next drop on Thursday, if you were to see the first tweet on Tuesday, then wait until the evening of Tuesday or even the morning of Thursday if you want to, and then look at the number of retweets. If it's high, you know, if it's like at least 400 or even 500, if it's above 500, because we are taking 500 as the benchmark from these 9 data points, then maybe it is a good drop to go for. Something else to keep in mind is that I think you can apply this method for the comics. I haven't analyzed the comics, and I bet the number of retweets for comics in general will be a little bit lower than these collectibles. The principle is the same. You can apply this method for comics as well. Obviously, it doesn't work 100% of the time, but it works most of the time. And as you can see, it's pretty obvious. Something else to keep in mind, that 500 retweet threshold, that is a dynamic threshold, meaning it changes over time depending on how much interest, depending on how many users we have. Obviously, the more users VeVe has, that benchmark will change over time. It's going to go up and down, okay, depending on just people's interest overall. This is one of the multiple steps that you will have to do if you want to decide whether you should go for the drop or not. Obviously, you will have to look at all those people's comments and posts on Facebook or Twitter to see what the sentiment of the community is towards a particular collectible. You need to do your own research, but I wanted to include this quantitative or somewhat scientific method is because when you look at the content of the comment or the tweet or the post, those content, they are qualitative data, and it's not easy to make decision from those qualitative inputs alone, simply because they are not easy to quantify. Let me explain. For one drop, David can put out a tweet saying, oh, this is a key release or this is a grail, so people are getting excited, right? But then for another drop, people will say, oh, I've known this brand since I was little, I love it, I'm gonna go for it. How do you compare between those inputs, and therefore whether to decide if you should go for collectible A or collectible B? People will be super excited about something, so that would introduce a lot of noise to those data points, and that will confuse you quite a bit. But if you were to condense it, if you were to compare these collectibles and analyze them using just one specific data point, one specific quantitative data point like the number of retweets, then that will make it a lot easier, because we are all busy, right? Like, we have other things to do, families, 9-to-5 jobs. We don't have the time to go through every single tweet and read about them and distinguish between noise and substance. So I wanted to bring up that number of retweets as a good benchmark to decide on the profitability on a drop. The reason why I wanted to bring up this topic today is because we have gone past the period where we could instantly 5x, 10x our money just from the luck of buying retail. Okay, back then we had the bot, we had the dirty jam situation, we had the NFT hype of FOMO that artificially inflated the price of a lot of these collectibles. Now all of that is over. We have to change. You know, if we don't change, we're gonna get burned out and we're gonna waste a lot of money. Nowadays, you have to be very strategic with your money. The most important thing here, whether you decide to do it quantitatively or qualitatively, or both, which is what I would recommend, is that you need to do your research. And sometimes I know like the sentiment towards flipping is pretty negative within the community, but in reality, we are experiencing an economic recession. Many people are not able to put money into VeVe anymore, which makes total sense because inflation is high, interest rate is high, people are concerned about, the recession, and they have to prepare for their savings and emergency fund and other things in life, pay off the debts or whatever. So flipping, in my opinion, I just started flipping, so these are the things I learned. Flipping is one way for me personally to stay in the game. All right, so that's why I had to learn this method. But the most important thing here is that you have to listen to the community. You don't have to make all the decisions based on the community, based on what people say, but the community is where you should start your research, simply because the folks in the community are the buyers. Okay, they will be buying or not buying your collectibles. So if you can understand their behavior, whether it's through reading their posts or counting or calculating the number of retweets or whatever, that will give you a really good advantage for you to make profit in the next drop. That is it, you guys. If you enjoy that method and you find it helpful, again, none of this is a financial advice. It's just me sharing my opinion, and I hope that will help you. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like. Please share below what you think, whether there's been things that have been working out for you or lessons that you have learned that might help everybody, because we're all here trying to learn. All right, and most of all, subscribe now so that you don't miss out on the actionable and valuable insights brought to you by VeVe's experts and biggest whales that I've interviewed, right, that will help you to make better decisions. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I hope to see you again next time. Peace.